Hello, students. The topic of our today's lesson is the weather forecast. We are going to do some very interesting exercises. We'll learn how to write a weather forecast. Also, we'll read and discuss an email from Anne, the girl from Australia. You know, students, that the weather is different in different countries and cities. It can be hot or cold, snowy or rainy. But before we start doing our tasks, let's watch a video about the weather in different cities of the world. Ви знаєте, що погода в різних країнах і містах різна. Буває жарко, холодно, сніг або дощ. Але перед тим, як ми почнемо виконувати наше завдання, давайте переглянемо відео про погоду в різних містах світу.
It is a very nice day in Brighton. It is sunny and warm. It is a nice day to go to the beach. It is very cold in Toronto today. It is snowing and lots of people are staying inside. There are some children outside making a snowman. In Munich, it is very windy. Some people are outside flying kites. The wind blew a man's hat away. In Sao Paulo, the weather is very bad today. There is a storm. Some people are watching the rain and listening to the thunder.
Our first task is exercise 1. Check the weather in your capital city and in your hometown on the internet and write a weather forecast. Use the example below. Перевір погоду у столиці та в твоєму рідному місті в інтернеті та напиши прогноз погоди за допомогою цієї таблиці. First, look at this chart. Here we have some information about the weather in London on the 15th of January. Date, the 15th of January. Place, London. Temperature, 5 degrees centigrade. Weather, cloudy and wet. Спочатку подивись на таблицю. Тут інформація про погоду в Лондоні на 15 січня. Now let's read the weather forecast on the 15th of January in London. In London, on the 15th of January, it will be 5 degrees centigrade. It is going to be cloudy and wet. And now, pause the video and read the sentences by yourself. А зараз робимо паузу в перегляду відео та читаємо 2 речення самостійно. Now let's train your writing skills. Write 2 sentences about the weather in Odessa on the 15th of February. Look at the chart. Напиши 2 речення про погоду в Одесі 15 лютого. Date, the 15th of February. Place, Odessa. Temperature, -5 degrees centigrade. Weather, snowy and frosty. Pause the video and write 2 sentences about the weather in Odessa on the 15th of February. А зараз робимо паузу та пишемо два речення про те, якою погода буде в Одесі 15 лютого. На виконання цього завдання вам дається 3 хвилини. Now let's check our sentences. Перевіряємо наші речення. In Odessa, on the 15th of February, it will be -5 degrees centigrade. It is going to be snowy and frosty. At our previous lessons, you learned that the weather can be different. It can be sunny and warm, snowy and cold, rainy or foggy. And now, let's sing a song about the weather. Look at the screen, read the words, and let's sing together. Погода може бути різною. Сонячною та теплою, сніговою та холодною, дощовою або туманною. А зараз давайте заспіваємо пісню про погоду. Подивіться на екран, прочитайте слова і заспіваємо разом.
What's the weather like? What's the weather like? What's the weather like today? It's sunny, it's sunny, it's sunny today. What's the weather like? What's the weather like? What's the weather like today? It's rainy, it's rainy, it's rainy today. What's the weather like? What's the weather like? What's the weather like today? It's windy, it's windy, it's windy today. What's the weather like? What's the weather like? What's the weather like today? It's cloudy, it's cloudy, it's cloudy today. What's the weather like? What's the weather like? What's the weather like today? It's snowy, it's snowy, it's snowy today. What's the weather like? What's the weather like? What's the weather like today? It's foggy, it's foggy, it's foggy today. What's the weather like? What's the weather like? What's the weather like today? It's stormy, it's stormy, it's stormy today. What's the weather like? What's the weather like? What's the weather like today? It's hot, it's hot, it's hot today. What's the weather like? What's the weather like? What's the weather like today? It's cold, it's cold, it's cold today.
Now it's time to go to our next task, exercise 2. We'll read an email from Anne, who lives in Australia. Look at the screen, please, and listen to the text. Hi, my name is Anne, and I'm from Australia. The climate here is very hot and quite dry. In summer, the temperature can get to 40 degrees centigrade in some places. But I live near the sea, so it is usually 25-30 degrees centigrade. The days are often sunny, and there's not very much rain, so people here wear t-shirts, skirts, shorts, dresses, and of course, sunglasses. In winter, however, it is sometimes cloudy and windy. The temperature can get down to 20 degrees centigrade, so we often put on a light jacket and jeans. What about your home place? Write me back. Yours, Anne. Привіт! Мене звати Анна. Я з Австралії. Клімат тут дуже жаркий і досить сухий. Влітку температура подекуди може досягати 40 градусів. Але я живу біля моря, тож зазвичай 25-30 градусів. Дні часто сонячні, дощів мало, тому тут люди носять футболки, спідниці, шорти, сукні і, звісно, сонцезахисні окуляри. Проте взимку іноді буває хмарно та вітряно. Температура може опускатися до 20 градусів. Тому ми часто одягаємо легку куртку і джинси. А як щодо твого рідного місця? Відпиши мені. Твоя Анна. Pause the video and read Anne's email by yourself. Робимо паузу та читаємо лист Анни самостійно. Well, students, what do you think about this email? Do you find it interesting? And now, get ready to answer my questions to this text. 1. What kind of climate is there in Australia? The climate here is very hot and quite dry. 2. What is the weather like in Australia in summer? In summer, the temperature can get to 40 degrees centigrade in some places. The days are often sunny and there is not much rain. 3. What clothes do people wear in Australia in summer? In summer, people wear t-shirts, skirts, shorts, dresses, and of course sunglasses. 4. What clothes do people wear in Australia in winter? In winter, people put on light jackets and jeans. Well, students, you have read Anne's email about the weather in Australia. Now, let's watch a video about this country and learn more about the climate and the weather in Australia. Ви прочитали електронний лист Анни про погоду в Австралії. А зараз давайте переглянемо відео про цю країну та дізнаємося більше про клімат та погоду Австралії. Australia is a very big country, so the weather is different in different parts of it. In tropics, the climate is warm and wet. Summer is a wet season in tropics. It often rains, and even in winter it is not cold here. The desert is dry and hot. The temperature gets to 45 degrees centigrade. There are places in Australia where you can see 4 seasons in one day. The weather can change from hot to windy, from cold and rainy to bright and sunny. So you get 4 seasons in one day. Amazing! Well, students, our lesson is coming to an end, and it's time to summarize what you have learned in today's lesson. You did a great job. Well done, students. Наш урок добігає кінця, і настав час підсумувати те, що ви вивчили на сьогоднішньому уроці. Ви гарно попрацювали. Молодці. Today, you have learned how to write a weather forecast for different countries. Сьогодні ви навчилися писати прогноз погоди для різних країн. You've revised a lot of words about weather and climate, and now you know how to use them in sentences to describe different types of weather. Ви повторили багато слів про погоду та клімат, і тепер ви знаєте, як використовувати їх у реченнях для опису різних типів погоди. You know how to write an email and describe the climate in the country. Ви знаєте, як написати електронний лист і описати клімат у країні. Now let's discuss your home task. Давайте обговоримо ваше домашнє завдання. Your home task is exercise 2, point B, page 84. Ваше домашнє завдання – це вправа 2, пункт B, сторінка 84. Write an email back to Anne and tell her about the climate in your home place and what people usually wear in each season. Напишіть електронного листа Ані і розкажіть про клімат у вашому рідному місті та про те, що люди зазвичай одягають у кожну пору року. Here is an example of how to complete the task. Ось приклад виконання цього завдання. That's all for today. Have a nice day, goodbye, and see you soon again. Гарного вам дня. До побачення.